made this video about 6 weeks ago, middle of April. I made it for my local beekeepers that were learning how to buy a nuke and then transfer it into a full-size hive. I've since decided to go ahead and add a few more pieces to it and publish it. There's still a lot of people buying nukes. Even though this is the end of May, they're going to be buying nukes for about the next 30 days all through the tri-state area. This is just going to be really helpful once I get home. The big question is, what do I do? It's pretty simple and straightforward. Hope you enjoy the video. Hello folks, welcome back. April 17th. Here in southern Ohio we are running 52-53 degrees today. It was sunny earlier today, although we got some cloud cover moving in. We're expecting some rain overnight tonight. We are running probably 10 to 14 days behind on all of our growing degree days. Basically the temperatures on average we're running behind. The red bud are blooming pretty good. They're not quite the peak bloom yet. We got a pretty good dandelion crop this week. The dead nettle's doing really good. The little wild violets are starting to bloom. We do have a trickle of nectar coming in, but we have a lot of pollen coming in, especially the bigger hives. Today we're going to move this nuke into a full-size hive. A lot of people this time of year are picking up 4 and 5 frame nukes and they're taking them home and they're, what do I do next? So today we're going to show you basically moving a nuke into a full-size 10 frame box. Stick around. Now when you do bring your nuke box home, if it's late in the day, go ahead and set it up on the stand where you will have your full-size hive. Either set it next to the empty box or even on top of the empty box. Go ahead and open the entry. That will allow them that evening and the first thing in the next morning to orient to the new location. If you bring your nuke box home fairly early in the day, say like noon or before, set your nuke box there, open it up, leave them go for about an hour or two. They'll kind of start rolling around the outside edge, take a few little orientation flights, let them settle down from that travel. Then you could go ahead and put them in if it's the same day, if it's early enough. Again, though, if you don't bring them home till fairly late in the day, just set your box up, open them up, leave them until the next day. So this one has been here for quite a while. I actually moved it over to this location about a month ago. So they're used to this area. They're used to the stand. We're going to go ahead and just move this off to the side and grab our full-size box, set it up here, then we're going to start moving bees over. So let's see what we can do here. Set in here. Now this is the same location that the nuke box has been. So we're going to go ahead and open it up. I've only been in this nuke box once this spring, well twice. I opened it up early in the year. I gave them probably a quarter pound of pollen patty. And then I was in here about 2 weeks ago just to make sure they had a laying queen. That was part of the evaluations we did up here. So we opened it up, pulled a couple frames up. They had a lot of brood. Closed them back up, left them alone. I haven't been in there since. So we're going to see what they look like as we transfer them over. Not sure how the temperament is on these girls. We're going to find out here pretty quick. So a little bit of smoke up underneath there. If you bring in a nuke home, that's really not necessary to smoke them like this. First thing I'm going to do is make sure I don't have a queen on the bottom of the lid. And I don't see a queen there. I'm going to set this around front here. Set it right there at the entry so they can crawl up there. Well, so far they're moving down just a little bit. So when you bring your nuke box home, you're going to have typically 5 frames. I have seen 4-frame nukes, but typically you're going to have 5 frames. Typically you're going to have a frame of food and at least 3 frames of brood of all mixed ages, capped brood, open brood. And then there's typically a frame that really doesn't have a whole lot going on it. Although I have seen nukes that were 5 just absolutely packed and overwhelmed. So when you get your nuke, when you pick it up, you need to make sure that you open it and take a look at it. You need to make sure from your buyer that he shows you the queen. And is the queen marked or not? It's up to you. So there's a lot of questions to ask. But typically you're just going to take this 5 frames and move them directly into the center part of your box here. Leave them in the same orientation that they were in the nuke box. Because chances are these girls, when you pick them up, they've been in that nuke box for at least 2 weeks. Let's see what we can come up with here. So you're going to take your outside frame gently, move it away from the second frame and pick it up. Now I'm going to take a quick look here because I need to know what's going on in this. And I see a couple hive beetles. I'm going to put a beetle trap in this. Okay, we're seeing a lot of nectar and a little bit of pollen in this outside frame. Being that this is a 5/5, I'm really not sure what to expect if they're using the bottom box at all. They might be using maybe 2 frames in the bottom box. But again, typically your 5-frame nuke, you're going to take those 5 frames and move them straight over into the center part of your 10-frame box. I'm kind of just looking them over because I haven't been in this box yet other than to pull it up a little bit. They've actually got quite a bit of nectar in here. This frame is about 3/4 of the way full of nectar. A little bit of pollen. So they are bringing in a lot of food. I stopped giving any of my bees any syrup a week or so ago because I knew that they were bringing in some fresh nectar. When you do bring a nuke box home, it's probably a good idea to feed them a little bit of 1-to-1 syrup for at least a week or 10 days until they get used to foraging in the new area. Then you can remove that. You don't want them to go hungry as soon as you bring them home. Can get this next frame out. Boy, they really got a lot of propolis. I'm trying not to create too much vibration. Don't really want to aggravate them too much here. Well, we got drones. We got a lot of nectar in here. Kind of move some of these girls out of the way so I can see what's going on down in there. A lot of pollen and nectar in this frame. Okay. Now basically I just did a quick look. They got plenty of food. Pretty good population of bees. And I got more bees in the bottom box. Basically that's all you're going to do. You're going to put your 5-frame nuke right in the middle. If you have some drawn frames, give them a couple drawn frames. If not, you can put your foundations in along the side. But keep the original nest put together. Button the box up. Feed them for at least a week or 10 days until they get oriented to the new location, and they'll take off from there. So moving a 5-frame nuke into a new box, that's about as simple as it gets. Keep your frames in order and feed them. Never gets old seeing the queen. It actually is pretty simple. You're going to just take your 5 frames, move them directly into a full-size hive. If you have drawn foundation, drawn frames, put them to the outside. If all you have is waxed foundation, that's fine. Put them on there, get your box filled up. If you're still during a nectar flow, for this area, we're talking about April, May, even the first 3 weeks of June, there's still a pretty good nectar flow. Feed them for the first 7 to 10 days, then you can probably back off on the feeding as the field force starts bringing in nectar. If you're not buying your nuke until probably June, you probably need to feed a thin syrup all through June and July because you need them to expand that nest. You need them to be making lots of wax. So it depends on when you're buying, if you need to feed, and how much you need to feed. Be careful on your feeding. Don't overfeed. Give them like a pint or maybe a quart at a time. That's it. Otherwise, they're going to backfill the brood nest really fast. The queen won't have anything to lay. 2 weeks after you install your nuke, they're going to want to swarm because they're out of room. Don't make that mistake. Feed them a little bit at a time. Got a deer fly biting me on the ear. Deer flies are really bad right now. So, just move them over, get your frames put in, put a little bit of feed on them. Come back in 5 to 7 days, do a quick review on them. Just start following along on what their progression is. Don't overfeed them, but make sure they don't starve. It's a little bit of a balancing act. You'll figure it out with experience. If you've got a local mentor, have them come in and take a look. That'll go a long way. There's nothing better than experience. I hope you enjoy this. I hope you get something from this. You take something from these videos. I'm making these to help people out that are kind of struggling, first year, second year, even third year beekeepers. So I hope you enjoy it. Make sure you subscribe. Give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.